Mm. Hello and welcome along to another episode of PL Seasons to Remember. Today I'm joined by, it's a family affair today, I'm joined by my sister Claire. Hi Claire.
Hi Ash.
So today we're going to discuss the Wenger saga. There was a lot of protests and a lot of Arsenal fans speaking about whether he should stay or he should go. So that's pretty much what we're going to sort of discuss this afternoon. But before we start, Claire, if you just want to give us a bit of an introduction and just tell us how long you've been supporting Arsenal.
Yeah, of course. Right, yeah, my name's Claire. Been an Arsenal fan now since about 92, 93. First game was with my dad back in 93 against Manchester City at Highbury. It was such a boring game. It was like 0-0. Fell asleep. And he took me again. It was against Liverpool. I think it was 94. And that was another home game. And we won 1-0. Paul Merson scored. But to top it all off, as everybody knows with my dad, he went to go for a drink. And we ended up missing the goal. We had this big loud roar as we were coming down the turnstiles. So my dad thought Liverpool had scored. So they decided to tell every Arsenal fan he saw, "Oh, Liverpool have scored," when actually it was Arsenal that had scored. So it was kind of like, he put his foot in it. But yeah, a long time now. I can't imagine supporting anyone else really.
Cool, thank you, Claire. So we're just gonna get into a bit of history about Arsene Wenger. So Arsene Wenger was called Arsene Charles Ernest Wenger. To anyone that didn't know that, I didn't know that. He was born in Strasbourg on the 22nd of October 1949. His managerial career was in 1984 to 1987 with Nantes, 1987 to 1994 with Monaco, 95-96 with Grampus 8, and then he was there in 95-96, and then the same year in 96 he then came to Arsenal from 96 to 2018. In that time at Arsenal, he won 3 Premier Leagues, 7 FA Cups, 7 Community Shields. He won Manager of the Year 3 times, most probably the 3 years they won the Premier League. So, Claire, what we're going to start with today was going to sort of look about the early Arsene Wenger years from like 97, 98. So, the year he first won the league title. So, what do you sort of remember about Arsene Wenger at that time? I know we were both quite young at the time, and his style of football from George Graham to then. What would you say the style of football was, and what he brought to Arsenal?
Well, I know under George Graham we were sort of like, we had the title boring Arsenal, because I think once we got a goal, it was like, you're not going to get past them now. You ain't going to score a goal. So it was kind of always 1-0, or that's what they were associated with. Wenger came during a mid-season. He came in, I think it was January, because obviously Bruce Rioch was sacked. I don't know, he came in halfway through a season. So you couldn't really tell what he was going to do, but you could tell like he changed the way we played. You could see from like the defenders at the back, like they had a new lease of life. And obviously it all came out in the end that he changed diets. Everything had changed. Like there were no drinking anymore. There were no smoking. It was all health-related issues he was cracking on with. And I think the training, the players had said like the training was so different to what they were used to before.
Yeah.
I just think it was a whole different way of life for them, and I think it took them a while to get used to it. But I think they all bought into it. Hence the reason why so many of them had longer careers than what we expected them to have. So in that is obviously in his first season, the main season when he won the league, you could tell the style of football, the players he brought in, there were more flair, there were more, pace, strength. He had everything, and that 97-98 season was just incredible. The players he had, and obviously we didn't know many of the players, so it was kind of like, who are these guys? And obviously he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, a bit similar to Arsene Wenger in the Premier League with the players he brought in. He was sort of the new. I use the word kid very loosely, like the new kid on the block. So he sort of came into Arsenal with quite a good reputation, but sort of came in very much an unknown. I think we all remember the press conference with the big glasses, and I think Ian Wright said he was more like a professor, looking more like a professor than a manager. But like I say, there was a massive drinking culture at Arsenal, especially with Tony Adams, we know very well. Paul Merson, we know very well with their drinking habits. So to come in and to literally change their style of football, which still worked under George Graham, they still won league titles, but to come in and literally sort of throw the rule book in the bin really and say, right, this is what we're going to do now. And it came with such success that first season. Like I say, he brought in like some Vieira and Anelka. Now Vieira eventually came on to be Arsenal captain, so such a very young talent to grow to such an Arsenal legend, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, nobody had heard of him, and I never knew him. He was only an 18-year-old lad. I think he came from somewhere in Italy. I think it was either Juventus or Milan. It was one of the two clubs. Yeah, and it was like to see him play at such a young age, he didn't look out of place. It's like he fit straight into that slot, along with Emmanuel Petit, because he came along the same season. So them two, that year was like phenomenal. You had to get past them two before you even got to the Arsenal's defence for the likes of Adams, Keown, Winterburn, Dixon, and obviously Seaman back. So he changed everything. And like we had Mark Overmars came in, he bought young Christopher Ray. He was only a young lad, and he was a decent talent. He was very good. But Anelka was the one who sort of shone that season. He really was a class act, and I think he was only 18. So there were a lot of young talent came in, but yeah, it was well worth it. The signings were amazing. To say that nobody heard of them.
I mean, I think it was Bruce Rioch that brought Dennis Bergkamp in. So Bergkamp had a massive successful career playing in Holland and had a very mixed, if not quite poor time in Milan. So he came in. So Arsene Wenger, once Bruce Rioch came in, Arsene Wenger came in, he sort of made Bergkamp. Bergkamp was already great anyway, but I sort of think he had a massive key into the way Bergkamp performed in the Premier League, especially he'd been with Ian Wright, Anelka as well, Thierry. Omri always says Bergkamp's the best player, apart from Messi, that he's ever played with. So he had such a spring of talent, Arsenal, and also going against Alex Ferguson's giant Man United team that had won the league pretty much nearly every year apart from Blackburn. So to take them on as well with a lot of youth players coming, also having the great back four. Yeah. What a really good start for Arsene Wenger to win his first Premier League title the way he did, because he had to come back from a massive margin as well, didn't he, during the league as well? I think the win at Old Trafford was the start of that winning run.
I think they went on a 10-game of a winning streak, if I'm not wrong. I think it was 10 games that went, and obviously they were ruled out of it mid-season. Now Arsenal won't do it, and I think they shocked and surprised everyone because they hadn't won the title since like 89, and that was the old like league title at Anfield. Sorry, Ash. but yeah, they hadn't won the league for like a few years. So, and obviously to come with a whole new set of players and for your first season to win a league and cup double was quite special. And I think that one season when he did arrive, it just sort of started what was going to be an amazing journey that guy put us on. Like, because I've never witnessed football the way I've watched it under Wenger. Some of the teams I've seen, the football he's played, and obviously I've been quite lucky to witness majority of his reign at Arsenal, going down to watch him.
Yeah.
But it was something special. It was, the things that you'll never forget. And like, obviously for me, I'll never forget them because, I think he was 10 when he arrived. And I think he left like when I was what? 33. So he was there for like 22 years of my life. The only manager I've ever known. Like, with respects like to my age. So it's a special guy. Really special guy.
He went on and won, like I said, he did the double in 97, 98. He then, in 2002, was it? 2002, when they went and won the double.
2002, yeah. He won another double, yeah.
The double at Old Trafford. Like I said, that was another amazing thing for Arsene Wenger, especially to go and win it at your greatest rivals, which I can't imagine many Man United fans would have enjoyed to see them lose a league title at Old Trafford, especially to Arsene Wenger and Arsenal, such as the rivalry. Now, Claire, we've lived through that rivalry, and I know we've on previous podcasts, the guys have spoken about, the last couple of podcasts have spoke about the rivalry between Arsenal and Man United. From an Arsenal fan, do you miss them rivalries? Because it's not quite the same now, but them rivalries were so good thinking back, wasn't they?
Yeah, I mean, we had some battles, I'll give you that. But yeah, I think it was the whole Fergie Wenger battle and the clashes between them that I think made it even more intense and more, I would say, more important for the fans. Every season we'd look at sort of like the Man United games. Always we look at Spurs, but I think because Spurs were like not really bothering or battling for anything or even nowhere near us, I think with the Man United game it was kind of, they're the games that define your season. So I think if each of us won each other, I think they go on to win the league.
Absolutely.
I think that's what it was like. And it was like that for, I would say, from 97, 98 up until about 2004.
Yeah, till Mourinho.
Up until Arsenal obviously went invincible, I think up until then, it was either Arsenal, Man United, or Man United, Arsenal. You couldn't really, it's either going to be one of them. So I think for people who didn't support either of them teams, it probably thought, oh God, Arsenal or Man United again. But that's just how it was.
Yeah, I think it's one of them what they say, don't they? It's the first team they look when the fixtures come out. It's where do we play Man United first? And I think that was, like you said, that was the difference back then. Whoever sort of won them games, I think I remember Keenan Vieira saying, whoever come out on top in them games would a lot of the time go on and win the Premier League. So in 97, 98, Arsenal beat Man United twice. So they beat them home and away. So that's what I'm saying. So a lot of times it doesn't work out like that. So so Arsenal went on and won the league at Old Trafford. But like I said, I just want to go on to a couple of more. So I'm going to go on more to the Invincibles team because I want to talk about the first league title and then for me the best achievement that Arsene Wenger's ever had at Arsenal. So the Invincible team. So they've sort of come away now from the likes of Tony Adams and that sort of great back four that have now been sort of faded, have gone now with a new style back four in now with Lauren, Sol Campbell, Kolo Touré and Ashley Cole. So what was your thinking of, like, you've got Gilberto, you've got Perez, Edu, Henry, Bergkamp. What would you think the differences are between the Invincible team and the 97-98 team? What do you think the differences were between
the two?
Yeah, between the two, yeah. So Wenger created one, started, so he didn't technically create the 97-98 team. It was he already had the foundations there, but he pretty much started this Invincible team. So what would you say the differences between the two was?
Right, okay. And well, basically, like you said, from 98 season, he inherited the back five. So they sort of like came with it. And he already had Ian Wright, who was a proven goal scorer. So he added bits and bats to that team, to a good team, but to make it a title-winning team was obviously quite difficult. And then going to 2003, 2004 to Invincibles, he completely wiped the whole team out, I think, bar Bergkamp. So obviously you saw the likes of Lundberg come in, you saw Gilberto, Edu, obviously Campbell came from Tottenham. I think that was 2001 maybe Sol Campbell came, or maybe just a little bit after that. It wasn't far away. Yeah, he was still in a Dreamcast shirt when he joined.
Yeah, I think that was his first title. I think the
Yeah, I
Invincible.
think he came back. Yeah. And obviously then you saw the likes of the team were just, there was strength in depth in every department. There wasn't a fault in anything you could say in that team. From layman up and from the keeper to the strikers, there's not one player that looked out of place. They all complemented each other, and the team was phenomenal. I mean, to go through a whole season without losing is pretty much unheard of. And I don't think, to be fair, I don't think it'll be ever done again, but you never know. I think it was a special team. It had everything. And obviously, Henri in his prime was, you can't really beat that.
Do you think Arsene Wenger, because the season before, they lost at Highbury to Leeds, which caused Arsenal to not to go on to sort of win another league title. So Man United sort of won the title, I believe, in that day. And Arsene Wenger came out and said, next season, we're going to go unbeaten. And for him to actually come out and say, we're going to go unbeaten, puts a massive amount of pressure on the team. So I think I've seen quotes on me saying, why did he say that? Why did he say that? But that team they were all 6 foot, all over 6 foot, big strapping guys. And they took it on the shore and said, fine, we'll go with it. Whether we can do it, we'll go with it. And they did. But I think the one thing the Invincible team never really got to grips with was Europe. I don't know, for some strange reason, it just never seemed to work in Europe for that team under Arsene Wenger. Why? Why do you think it never seemed to work in Europe with that team? That team really should have been at least getting to semi-finals. Oh, no, okay, they got to a quarters, didn't they, with Chelsea? They got to a quarter season with Chelsea. But even before then, the team should have been really battling a lot more in them competitions.
Well, yeah, like you said, I totally agree with you. Like, with the team they had, they should have done a lot better in Europe. I don't know why they didn't do well in Europe, because, the players they had was, you think they'd be challenging with the likes of Barca, Real Madrid, with the likes of that caliber team, because that's the kind of team they had. They had like a world-class team there. I know, like, the biggest victory they had, I think, was at the San Siro when they beat Inter Milan, and that was a game sort of like thought, well, if you can do that, you should push on now and see how far we can go. But it just didn't work out for him, unfortunately. So it was kind of like, I bet there'd be some regrets with Arsene Wenger that that team didn't do more. But you can't really say that they went invincible. So I think to do that, I think that's just something special in its own.
Arsene Wenger's best, probably Arsene Wenger's best. I think we lost the connection there. I think for me, I'll just sort of repeat it again. I think it's the best team I've seen from Arsenal perspective. I think it's one of the best teams that's been in the Premier League. I think there is arguments either way. You could say it was the best. I mean, you could say Man United's 98, 99 team that won the treble was the best. So I think it's a very good argument for anyone to make. But to do that, and I mean, I know from supporting Liverpool, watching Liverpool this season, that every game matters. If you want to break this record, every game matters. There's always going to be a game where you're just not quite on it. If you're not on it, you're going to get beat. And I said, when Liverpool lost to Watford, they were awful. But that season, okay, people talk about the Portsmouth game with Pires going down and Arsenal sort of getting a job, but there was still, to my memory, there was still a lot more left in that game. So they could have even pulled it back anyway. So, it's one of them things. But to go through an entire season unbeaten, to say that's what we're going to do is bold. It's a really bold statement that from Arsene Wenger to say that, don't you think?
Well, yeah, I think it's something that it did put a lot of pressure on them. But at the end of the day, he knew them. He knew what they were capable of. Maybe they probably didn't think they would actually do that. But, they did, and I think it's just something that...
Could it be counted as arrogance from Arsene Wenger? To say that's what we're going to do, or do you think it's more belief?
With Arsene Wenger, there was no arrogancy about Wenger. He just believes in the team, and as the years went on, as we'll talk about, you'll see just how much belief he put in his players.
Yeah.
And I think when you on about, the situation at the Portsmouth game where you said with, they were lucky to win that. But there are also games, one in particular at Old Trafford, where, Van Nistelrooy with the dive and, the cheating to get Vieira sent off. So you could sort of argue that it could be justice. Really. Yeah, it swings and roundabouts. And I think that we went through a lot of stuff back then where you think to yourself, nah, we were unlucky, or, but these things happen, and lucky for Arsenal, it helped.
They had a massive strength in character.
It could have gone either way, because if Van Nistelrooy had scored that goal, and obviously it wasn't a penalty either, so you could argue that Arsenal were hard done by there, but, justice was served and it paid off. So I'm not going to argue about it.
A massive strength in character. I mean, even on the last day against Leicester, they were losing. So I said it took massive strength in character to come back and also go on and win the title from there. So that was another wonderful team that Arsene Wenger. I think as we go on, sort of the things that happened years ago, people sort of forget, but we'll sort of talk about as we go on. So then it come round to the moving from Highbury. So Arsene Wenger had been at Highbury for a lot of years. Very successful there. So then he sort of moving to the Emirates. So before he moved to the Emirates, he lost his captain, lost Vieira. He left the best left back Arsenal arguably Arsenal's best ever left back in Ash Cole, probably the best left back in the Premier League has ever been. So I don't technically still think there's no as good as Ashley Cole's been. He left at the end of the season. So they're moving into a new stadium with, again, another start of another rebuilding team. So the Invincibles have sort of been faded out, with Cesc sort of coming in as the main man then in midfield in the end. So, Claire, from Arsene Wenger, they've always said Arsene Wenger was the one that was the instigator in the Emirates move. He was the one that was behind everything. He went to every time there was something. He was always there when it was getting built. You've got a bit of background, haven't you, to that with Arsene Wenger regarding that move to the Emirates?
Yeah, I don't know if it's common knowledge, but I think quite a few people did know this. Obviously, when we wanted the funding to, get the Emirates built, in order for us to be able to get that money, the people that obviously the bank, I would imagine, or whoever gave us the money to do it, they wanted assurances that Wenger would be there to see the payments through and see the stadium through. So without him, they would never have funded the money for the stadium. We would never have got the money for the stadium, because they wanted assurances every season that we would have Arsene Wenger there. Probably because he was the only one, if I'm being honest, that could run a football club at the time. David Dean had gone. So, the whole of Arsenal had changed. But yeah, I think Wenger was the only one who sort of knew how to manage a football club, to keep the spending. He did everything. I think they knew that if he was there, then they would get paid back and it would run smoothly. Because obviously, without him, they wouldn't have done it. We wouldn't have it.
So they're going to the Emirates. Then for a lot of years, Arsenal's transfer policy was very low. It was more selling players than buying talent. So say the likes of Van Persie going, Adebayor leaving, Sami Nasri leaving, Cesc leaving in the end. So there's a very much an endless list of such quality players leaving.
Yeah.
So the question I ask you, Claire, is, did the board help Arsene Wenger? Was it, as Arsene Wenger gone, look, this is what we have to do. We have to sell to keep, because of the stadium. Or was it they were then never given financial help? Was that because of the stadium? What was your sort of thoughts on that? Do you think it was more Arsenal had to sell because to pay the stadium, or was it just the sold? Yeah. What do you think?
I think the stadium put them in a lot of debt. I think the stadium, I think it might have been too much at the time. Because if you think about it, they were only the first team, I think, in England to build a new stadium. So nobody had to go through that. So obviously, when we started building the Emirates, the likes of Chelsea were just coming into the millions. And then obviously it went on from there. Then Man City got the money, and it just kind of, they were progressing where we were sort of like getting left behind. And I think it was a shame and it was upsetting at the time to lose your best players in the way we had to sell them. But I kind of understand it now that we had to sell. But I don't think the board or the owners helped. You know, we had owners that could have helped a bit more. But I think back then, I just think we had to do what we had to do to survive. And I think we're still getting in the Champions League for the whole of the years we were, paying off the Emirates. I don't think you can have any complaints. So to sell the likes of Fabregas, Nasri, Adebayor, Van Persie, even Ashley Cole left just before we're moving into the Emirates. So to lose quite influential players that we had, it was tough. And I think obviously we bought the likes of, Danielson come in, Haleb was there, and you saw like it was not the class that we was used to. It was like mediocre. So like Shamak came with a good reputation from Bordeaux. He did score some goals, to be fair to him, but he just didn't have I don't think he had what it took to play for Arsenal. A lot of the times we've had players, and I'll say what Henri said, if the shirt's too heavy for you, and I think a lot of it, the shirt was too heavy for you. And I don't think it worked, but I will give him credit because, we did get Champions League football throughout the whole time we were building the Emirates. And even when we were in there paying it off, we still got the Champions League. And it was seen as, you can't class Champions League as a trophy, blah, blah, blah. But now that's all people want to do is get into the Champions League spot. That's what they set out to do every season. But whilst we was doing it, it was always, fourth is not a trophy. And we never got any respect for that. He never got no respect. And to do what he did with the teams that he had, it's incredible.
Do you think, now, going back, like I said, to the Invincible era and that sort of era, it was Arsenal every time the season started, it was, right, we're going for the league. Do you think when they moved into the Emirates, apart from the Gallas season where they came so close that year, do you sort of think then Arsenal and Arsene Wenger and Arsenal looking more like their aim was Champions League, not winning the Premiership? And I think that was something that I noticed that I don't think they set up with the mindset of we're going to go for the league. It was a mindset of let's get in the top four, and if we can get third, second, then it's a bonus. But that's my opinion. I don't know if you feel exactly the same with that.
No, I pretty much agree with what you're saying. I think you have to be realistic. And during that time, we didn't have the players to compete for the league. You think about it, we'd lost likes of Henri, Bergkamp, Lundberg, Gilberto, Edu, Campbell, Lauren. I can go on because we lost so many players and he had to rebuild. And I think he put a lot of faith in the players he brought in. Fabregas was such a young player. And for him to put him in that centre-round midfield, make him captain, he put a lot of faith in these players. And a lot of them stabbed him in the back and the left. And I think without him, they wouldn't have a career. And I think that a lot of people owe their career to him. Yeah. I think he was trying to build something at Arsenal. And, he tried to bring them up from being kids. I think he expected them, if you bring them up together, they'll grow together, they'll learn together, and they'll win together. But that's not what football is now. It's all about winning trophies and, more money that they'll get. Because let's be honest, they will go for more money. It's just part and parcel of the game now. So it's upsetting to see that.
With the Emirates, like I say, about Arsenal not being able to buy players, do you sort of think that Arsene, Bob said in a previous podcast, which he was bang on, where he said that Arsene Wenger was, at the time, the best at going and getting young players from different countries and bringing them in. But then everyone started to think, oh yeah, wait, if we can do that, then maybe we can emulate what Arsene Wenger's been doing. And then everybody started doing that then. So what Arsene Wenger first brought in, now everybody's doing. But then everyone started to go, right, we're going to have to start buying players now and bringing players in. So do you think he didn't move on with the times and just thought, I can still do what I did back in the early 2000s, instead of saying, right, if we just buy somebody and bring them in, then we might be better going on for the league? Do you think he was sort of stuck in his ways and sort of stuck in the past a little bit? That's probably why they probably didn't buy players. Or would you say they couldn't buy players because they just didn't have the money? What do you think? Or do you think it's a bit of both?
I don't really know. I mean, I think if he had the money, there is no doubt about it, he would have bought good talent. Because at Highbury, he bought players and he brought good players. Let's be honest, he didn't buy terrible players. I think the Emirates just cost so much money to do and develop. I think we would just he just couldn't afford to buy the players that he probably would have wanted to buy. He was like structured to. He probably had to sell before we could buy, and I think you'll see that in some of the players that left, and then the talent that come in. But if you remember, Eduardo come in when Henri left. He came in the season after Henri had left. Now he was a superb player until he got an injury, and he sort of never recovered. But he still managed to buy a good player like that, and unfortunately, it didn't work out. And he bought the likes of Arsene, who was probably our most expensive signing after moving to the Emirates. So you can kind of, see things, what he was trying to do. But I don't know if you remember, he bought Lassana Diarra, came at the Emirates. So he got it from Chelsea. Now, he was a cracking midfielder, but it just didn't work out. And obviously, he got William Gallas for Ashley Cole, which I wasn't really keen, I've got to be honest. I think the way he acted as captain was disgraceful. He just acted like a complete baby.
For a certain amount of time, wasn't he? I think he's never going to replay. I think in the end, Chelsea got a much, much better deal out of it. But I mean, he did well for a certain time, did Gallas. But I just, like you say, it was just for every three or four plays back then that they got, maybe one of them worked. Yeah. So then Van Persie leaves, goes to Man United after one incredible season at Arsenal, and then continued for another great season at Man United. And then again, he then sort of went on the decline a bit under David Moyes, and then he went. So that season Van Persie left, Arsene Wenger spent quite big in the transfer market that season. So he brought in Giroud, Santi Cazorla, Lucas Podolski, if you could think of any more, which I think they were the three.
Yeah, they were the three main talent. But if you remember, he bought them whilst Van Persie was still here.
Yeah.
Because I remember they all went to pre-season and Van Persie came off the bench. He was booed because he didn't want to be there. He wasn't interested. But we had the likes of Cazorla, we had Podolski, we had Giroud. I think Wenger bought them hoping that would sway him to stay. But like you said, the little boy inside of him wanted to go to Man United, which was like the biggest joke I've ever heard. But yeah, he went. But that season, Arsenal did really well, to be fair. To say they lost Van Persie, Song left as well. Alex Song was a major influential player in that midfield. He was class. And obviously, Henri came back the last season that Van Persie was there. He come back, he got some vital goals, to be fair, especially the one in the FA Cup.
Do you think that was again another rebuild again? I think he had more rebuilds in the end than anything else, didn't he? So again, they said he was starting to rebuild with Santi, more Cazorla and Coquelin were the two sort of in midfield for a lot of years. So again, it was about rebuilding again. I just think in the end, I think he spent more time rebuilding. I think Arsenal fans, because they're so used to success, couldn't wait for the team to be rebuilt because they wanted success. And I think that was something that was the start then of this whole Arsene Wenger, we need something different now. Do you sort of think that's probably what it was?
I think that Arsenal have been used to winning, and they've been used to winning for a long time. So to go through 9 years without a trophy was hard. I think if you ask any Arsenal fan, it wasn't easy, but I got it because I think every time you saw a squad that you think, wow, that could potentially do well now, just add a little bit more to it. But then the main players, just like it has been for every season, we lose one, and then you're constantly having to rebuild again. But obviously, when you brought the likes of Giroud, Podolski, Cazorla, to be fair, I've not really heard of Cazorla or Giroud. I knew Podolski from Germany international team, and he was absolutely superb. So when I signed him, I was kind of excited because I thought, wow, we've got a cracking talent here. So that was quite good. And obviously, moving on to the next season, we signed Mesut Ozil for a record fee, and I think that just lifted the entire fan base. And I think you remember watching it with me on transfer deadline day at home, and we thought, wow, Mesut Ozil's joined Arsenal. It went right to the wire, just like it always does with Arsenal. But that was, I think, the whole crowd and the whole fan base, the whole club was lifted by such a big name coming to Arsenal that we hadn't seen in such a long time. It was amazing. It was amazing.
What did Arsenal to do then would be then to build on that. I know, okay, then they brought Alexis in again. I think, were you at the Emirates?
Well,
were you at the Emirates Cup when Sanchez kicked? Did he come on the Emirates Cup? Were you there for this Emirates Cup when Sanchez came?
Yeah, I was there.
The atmosphere, I think you remember telling me, the atmosphere was buzzing when Sanchez was about to come on. He was like, oh, Alexis Sanchez. And he then brought another life again to Arsenal. So you had Alexis, you had Mesut Ozil, and it seemed that dream partnership for them. You just think, right, come on, buy a decent defender. Go buy a decent defender. Buy a very good defensive midfielder. But they didn't. And that's the thing, he didn't. And I think that, again, was a cause of something where it was starting to just buy somebody in that would buy somebody in defence, buy a decent. Petr Cech was good for Arsenal. Okay, he wasn't what he was at Chelsea, but he still did okay. But you just wanted them just to buy that little bit more in positions what they really need. Sometimes I think they bought when they didn't really need to buy in these positions. So again, FA Cup Hull, Arsene Wenger's first trophy in 9 years.
Yeah.
Then an amazing cup final, probably one of the best cup finals I've ever seen. So this is when, Claire, we're going to come on now with Arsene Wenger, where it all started to change a little bit. So after that whole final, should Arsene Wenger have said, I've done what I've done enough now, I'm going to then go and let another manager come in? And like I said, Pep would have been available then, and I think Arsene Wenger said Arsenal said they would have gone for Pep, but Arsene Wenger didn't want to leave. Do you think that was the time where he should have said, right, I'm done? There's still great managers out there now, back then, who could come in and take over. Should he have gone after that whole final?
For me, no.
Right, okay.
I still think after that cup final, I think majority of the Arsenal fans, I think they thought, right now, something special could happen now. And like you said, the next season he brought in Alexis Sanchez, Danny Welbeck came in, and you thought, two good players coming here. And you just looked at it and thought, with the likes of Sanchez, Welbeck, Ozil, Podolski, Giroud, Cazorla, even Arteta, because Arteta come in as well. You had, some of the players that come in were pretty decent players. And obviously you had the back pairing of Mertesacker and Koscielny, which was quite a solid back four. The pairing was pretty good together. It sort of worked. And obviously the likes of Bellerin came through that season. And he had an amazing first season. So he cemented the right back position. Left back we had Sanya, but obviously he left after the 2013 FA Cup final. He left. So I'm trying to think who came in and replaced Sanya.
Then Monreal came in, didn't he?
That's it. Monreal came
And Monreal
halfway
was a very good
season.
servant for Arsenal. I thought Monreal was a very good servant for Arsenal.
He was
I
brilliant.
think he don't get a lot of plaudits to me, Nacho Monreal. I thought at a time where Arsenal were really struggling at the back, I thought he was the one man who was good every week. Every week he played, and I thought he was good every week. So yeah, like I said, they brought all these people in. Then he goes on and wins another cup. Again, beating Chelsea in the FA Cup final. Then again, the same question is asked: should Arsene Wenger be leaving? I can ask you the same question again: should Arsene Wenger have left after the Chelsea one? Because another season after, he then brought did he bring Lacazette in the season after that?
The season after we beat Chelsea in the FA Cup final. If we just recap on that game a little bit. So that season, we finished out of the top four. You know, that was gone. We'd finished, I think we'd just behind you by a point or something like that. It wasn't much. It was only like about a point. So, you know, we had to finish the season strong and get into the cup final. We'd lost. Koscielny got sent off at the last game of the season, so he was missing.
Yeah.
You know, Mertesacker was coming towards the end. So Rob Holding started with him, Mertesacker and Monreal. And then you had like Bellerin and Oxlade-Chamberlain as the wing backs. So for that game, you had Xhaka in the middle with Ozil, and you had like Alexis, Ramsey, Welbeck, you know, all with the forward pairing. So no one really gave Arsenal a prayer for that game because we had so many people missing, so many injuries. And it was kind of like, is this going to be
Chelsea were champions. Chelsea were champions. They would have blown the league. They absolutely blew everybody away in that league that year.
Yeah.
But to come through, like you say, you and T were at the semi-final against Man City. Again, no one really gave Arsenal a prayer in that semi-final. And they were brilliant. You and T, Liam went, all three of you went to that semi-final. And they beat Man City. But I mean, that season, I mean, in the Champions League, I think they were the season where they were losing 5-1 to Bayern Munich. But it went through games where they were getting battered by the big clubs. And I think everyone then, the thing of, it's time for Arsene Wenger to leave now, all started to come along around about that year where
he signed Sanchez and Welbeck. That's when it started. Even though with that season we got Sanchez and Welbeck, the season after, I think Arsenal should have won the league that year. I think because most of the teams weren't playing too well. Man City were not that good. Chelsea weren't nowhere near. Man United were shocking. Liverpool weren't really. They were just sort of like, I think Klopp had sort of just come. I think Liverpool were just coming into their own a little bit and getting used to, you know, the way Klopp wanted to play and getting their own players in. So that was Arsenal's best chance to go on and win a league title since 2004. And I think a lot of Arsenal fans thought when we beat Leicester at home in the dying seconds with Welbeck, I think we had some games where you thought, you know, Arsenal can win the league here. But then it fell apart the next game away at Old Trafford against a bunch of kids. But you think to yourself, it's just the same thing. You know, we expect, I think whether we expected too much or whether they just couldn't handle the pressure, I don't know. It just seemed to like fall apart. And during that season, I think you'll remember there were going to be the first protest.
Yeah.
And it was a home game to Norwich. It was a Saturday afternoon. I remember you saying to me, be careful, because I was going down to that game with some friends. So I forgot all about it, to be honest, when I got there, because the atmosphere was really good outside and everyone seems to be getting on. But in the ground, I think it was after 19 minutes, it changed. And it went, it just turned toxic. It was violent. It was awful. I don't think I've ever been, not scared, but it was something I'd never witnessed before at a football match. And I'd never witnessed, like, people holding banners up saying time for change. To be fair, there was only a percentage of fans that did that. I think because Sky were reporting it all week there were going to be a protest.
I watched it.
Yeah, and I think it was the most pathetic. It was the most pathetic protest ever because I think at that point Wenger still had, I would say, 95% of the Arsenal fans on his side. Because aside from me, there was some people that I knew from my supporters club. Only 2 people. The others I didn't really know. I'd seen them before, but during that time when they were holding the banners up, there was a guy 2 rows in front of me. He had a banner, but he ripped it up and said, "Oh, you're all a disgrace." And I kind of shook his hand because I kind of agreed with him. I just thought it was just pathetic. And I think for a guy who had done so much, for the way the fans turned, for me, it was, you just won 2 FA Cups in a row. You were challenging for the title that season. I don't know what more you wanted from him. Yeah, it sort of didn't work out. We finished second, but there was a lot of, the fans became divided, I would say, from that season. That's when it sort of like started. The fans were divided. There was fighting in the ground, in the turnstiles. I had to move seats because people turned on me for saying there's only one Arsene Wenger. I was allowed to say that. I don't have to agree with everybody else. I wasn't a Wenger out. I've never been a Wenger out. No way, I never would have been. So for people to turn on me, threaten me for being an Arsene Wenger supporter, I had to move seats because it got so violent and so pathetic. And I think some people around me was really like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Because like I said, not everybody, you can't tarnish every Arsenal fan with that same brush because it was only a minimum amount of people in that ground.
It seemed to go on this because I remember them playing Everton and it showed on TV Arsenal fans fighting amongst themselves after the game. So this became a familiar trend now of fans of Wenger in, Wenger out, all fighting with each other. And it just became, it wasn't about Arsenal anymore for me. It was about Wenger in, Wenger out. So the team suffered, in my opinion, because the sole concentration was on Arsene Wenger and is he going to leave? Is he going to stay? And then the fights between fans, which should never happen with fans, should not be fighting amongst each other. And like I said, then crowds slowly but surely started to fade. You went to the League Cup semi-final with City at Wembley.
Yeah.
Claire, what were your thoughts on that? Because you went there again. I mean, Uber had just come around about that time, so he was going to play. Mkhitaryan was there, but couldn't play. It
was cup time.
So you was there. You was amongst all the fans that afternoon. Now I remember watching it and thinking, if this is how Arsenal want to perform, then Arsene Wenger is going to go. Because for me, they just hung him out to dry in that game. Because about 10 minutes to go, the Arsenal was half empty. What were your remembrance of that final?
Just throughout the day.
Well, yeah. Just what was the feel before the game? Because I said there must have been people going, "Oh, we might have a chance here," but then as everyone started to leave and the goals kept going in,
yeah.
Was a sort of feel amongst the crowd? And you could tell because everyone were going, but what was your feeling around where you were and your feeling on the game?
Okay, so obviously, like the season before that, we knocked them out of the FA Cup semi-final. So going into that game, there was optimism. There were optimism because we thought Wembley is kind of Arsenal's.
Yeah,
They'd won like Charity Shields, FA Cups. They've never really lost a final there, so we went there with the like everybody goes, "Oh, it's Wembley, we'll be all right. We haven't lost a game here yet." So the crowd was quite optimistic before the game, and everyone was cheering, everyone was singing. They did everything they could, but defensive errors, the frailties showed again that we just wasn't good enough, and it was upsetting to be in the crowd and to hear people as soon as we started losing. It was Wenger out, and it was like
fighting in the ground that afternoon, Claire. Was the fighting in the ground that afternoon from what you could see from where you were?
people arguing, and it turned again. And it were like, here we go again. Broken record, same thing. Wenger out. And I just kind of blocked it out because I thought, sick of hearing it now. I'm sick of hearing it. And then obviously it went 1-0, then 2, then 3, and I thought, this is it. I'm not gonna lie. I had tears in my eyes after that because it was freezing cold, and to sit there and spend all that money on a cup final ticket, I think I must have spent nearly £100 that day. That was just to get there, and obviously what you're spending during the day, it was kind of like
not expensive. It's not a cheap trip, is it?
It was an expensive trip. It was a great trip. Don't get me wrong. I was with all my friends, and we had a fantastic day drinking and stuff before. You know, I was so excited. In my first cup, one of my never been to a League Cup final before. I've been to FA Cup finals. I've been to a few, but I'd never been to this one. So I was quite excited to think, oh, I might be here when they win this cup. And it just didn't work. And I think a few weeks later, Wenger, it come out that he was leaving. And I don't think he had any choice. I think his hands were tied. The stadiums became empty.
Do you sort of think, I remember Gary Neville saying, they're walking on a football field, they're walking at Wembley. What are they doing? And then they played City on the next game was on a Wednesday night at the Emirates. And I remember because you were talking about the weather, it had been snowing all day. And I think, God, is it the game is even going to happen? But then there must have been about 25, 30,000 fans, maybe less, in the ground for that game. And then I think they lost 4-0. Or was it 3 or 4-0? I can't remember what it was now.
3-0 at half time.
They were battered again. And it just came to be a familiar trend. And I remember sitting and I remember watching it going, could get worse. And everyone's booing. Arsene Wenger sat on his chair, and I'm just thinking, it's time now. Look what's happening. Look around. Look at the thing you have built. You built this, and there's nobody here. And I think that's when you need to sort of think, it's time to go now. It's time to go, as a lot of things you've heard. And I mean, like I said, the Arsenal Fan TV was very, very much around then. I mean, no one really heard of Arsenal Fan TV until then. So you had everyone had their own a platform now, so they could go on. I mean, I'd never seen it. My dad never seen it. Everybody watching that now. Everyone was laughing every time Arsenal got beat. People go on and they would laugh and they would watch it. I'm not saying that they're the reason why Arsene Wenger's gone. I'm just saying everyone could see it now. Everybody had a voice, and beforehand you never saw anything, but now everyone was talking, and every game was about Arsene Wenger, which was wrong. So what do you think then, Claire? At that game, the fans starting to go and not be there, you must have thought, surely now let's reset, let's start again, let's get another manager in, because this is getting toxic and it could get even worse. And then the last season, I think they won one away game all season. They won 2 away.
1 or 2.
Yeah.
It was no more than 2.
That season, yeah. So we watched the last game with Arsene Wenger, but before I get to that, it just become embarrassing because everything, they were getting beat by really high scores. You must have thought then it was time to go then, didn't you?
I think it was more upsetting for me to see such a great manager, or was a great manager, from what it was to what sort of his legacy probably is now. It's not very nice to think about, to be honest, because it is quite upsetting. It's an upsetting thing for me. I did thinking towards the end, do you really want to keep putting yourself through this, and to keep letting the media and the pundits rip you apart every game for losing? And let's be honest, them players needed to take a lot of criticism and all, because they never took any of the blame. They sat back and watched him. They hung him out to dry the last season, in my opinion. They could have done better. Because after he said he was leaving, I'm pretty sure they didn't really lose a game. That everything sort of booked up, the crowds came back, which really annoyed me, because you should have been there regardless. You support Arsenal Football Club. You don't just go there to support Arsene Wenger. Nobody there was there just for Wenger. You were there for Arsenal Football Club. You support those players through thick and through thin. There's none of this, oh, I'm not coming. Well, if you didn't want to go, then don't turn up to the last game when, he's leaving and it's a special moment. Upsetting moment, but it was a special moment because he left on a high. He left with every crowd there singing his name, which is probably what I don't think he expected that.
The song hasn't been sung for so long as well. The Arsene Wenger song I hadn't heard when I've been watching Arsenal and when I've gone down to a few games. I haven't heard that song for ages.
Yeah.
I mean, you've gone to a lot of the games over the last sort of couple of years.
10 years.
When was the last time really you heard that song sung? Because it didn't happen much, did it? Coming near the end of his tenure.
Last time I heard Arsene Wenger's name properly was the FA Cup final against Chelsea.
And that's a long time, really.
It was a season before.
That's a long time to not hear that voice, to hear that song.
He gone like the whole season without hearing it. And obviously the season before, when he won the FA Cup, he beat Chelsea, the whole ground was singing his name. Because everyone was so proud of him. And I think everyone thought at that stage, look, he's going to go now. He's going to retire. But he didn't. He signed a contract for 3 years.
Yeah. This is the thing, but then he got a pay rise, which a lot of Ars fans couldn't believe. Do you remember what the pay rise was?
Was it like 8 million pound a year or 11 million a year?
I don't know what it was now, but then.
Not actually, no, because the finances what he earned never really bothered me because it didn't affect me.
No, it didn't. But people are going, how is he getting this much amount of money and we're not competing? So I think that's what people try to say. Why are you spending so much on a manager when we should be spending a lot more on bringing players in? I think I think he should have gone after the whole thing. My opinion on Arsene, I think he should have gone after the whole final. I think it was the perfect time before it all started going wrong, because it wasn't going wrong then. People were just waiting for Arsenal to win a trophy. But I think after that, people said, right, let's do it again now. Let's challenge for the league now. And they didn't. And I think that is the reason why a lot of Arsenal think, right, come on now, why aren't we changing managers? Why you see Chelsea changing managers every couple of seasons and then getting rewarded of winning the title? Even Leicester won a league title. Man United, I said when Ferguson left, they've not won one since. They've sort of going in a transition period, a bit similar to what Arsenal are. City came in and brought Pep in. I mean, so now we've brought in Jurgen Klopp. So again, they were just starting to just not keep up with everybody. I just think it was a time where he needed to go. The fans needed to unite again. I think whilst he was there, that was never going to happen. There was always going to be a divide. I think in the end, you were talking about the 95% of Arsenal fans at that Norwich game. I think it turned. I think it was very much maybe 60-40 of Wenger going. I think there was more fans in the end wanted him to go than fans that wanted him to stay. Now, I know you wanted him to stay. And I said, everyone's opinion matters. Opinions count. I thought he should have gone. This is great. This is why it's such a fantastic debate is Arsene Wenger. It shouldn't be, really, because it shouldn't be a debate about, he should have left years ago for what he's done. But no one ever remembers that now. It's all about the embarrassing moments what happened for Arsenal in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe. There were probably more heavy defeats than wins.
Yeah.
Not saying that because, to be fair, he had an impeccable home record. Even the year he left, we only lost 2 games at home the whole year, and that was against the two Manchester teams. So it was kind of, he didn't too. It was the away form that cost him the last season, but I think it was a mixture of everything. It was a mixture of the last 3 or 4 years. Obviously the 10-2 defeats to Bayern, the humiliations at Barcelona, losing to Monaco when we should have probably beat them and qualified a bit further. I think it all comes round to the same thing. Maybe things had just got stale. And I think maybe in the end, I don't like to say it because I don't like to be disrespectful, but I think in the end, maybe it was the right time for him to step down. And to take Arsenal forward. And I think, I'll never forget what he did. He was such an influential guy. And most important, big part of Arsenal. I think the fans, I think majority of them will never, never say that he wasn't a good manager or that he wasn't a great manager, because he was. He won us a hell of a lot of things. So for me, his record will still be the greatest Arsenal manager ever.
Yeah.
And I think that you can't really debate that.
Can you understand, because with you being a prone part of the Wenger brigade, as it was known.
Yeah.
Can you sort of think the Arsenal fans who wanted him to leave had a point? Do you sort of think, yeah, they were right? I know that you wanted him to stay, but can you understand why fans wanted him to go? I can't understand the turmoil that was around it, but can you understand that fans wanted him to go and fans wanted a change? Can you understand that's what they want?
Yeah, I totally understand what everybody wants to change. Everyone wanted to see Arsenal go, move in a different direction, as they say. But I think it could have been done better.
Yeah.
It could have been done with more respect. It didn't have to be as toxic as it was. But in the end, he has gone now. We move on to a new era. We've had one new manager. That didn't work out, so we're on to the next one. So we just have to see how it goes now. I mean, I'm excited for this new era. I've got to be honest.
Do you sort of think and look at it and go, now Arsene Wenger's left? The fans' sole frustration was at the time Arsene Wenger and the board. Now,
yeah,
Arsene Wenger took a lot of abuse from Arsenal fans. They took a lot of. I mean, every time you spoke about Arsene Wenger, it was always negative that people would speak about. Then they used to have the AGM meetings where you had Sir Chips Keswick, you had Stan Kroenke, Josh Kroenke, you had all these people on the board where Arsenal fans would ask questions, which they were allowed to ask questions, and was told by Sir Chips Keswick, yeah, as in, I don't want to know what you've got to say. Then they'd rile the fans up and say, if you want to hear what Stan Kroenke has to say, read The Guardian, whatever it was. I can't remember if it was The Guardian or read a newspaper. But then Arsene Wenger would come on. Arsene Wenger would come on and chat for 10 minutes, and everyone would go, yeah. And he'd make you feel a bit more happier. Okay, they're not happy, but you think like, yeah, Arsene Wenger always knows what to say. Because I always think he protected them so much, and now they can't be protected no more now, because no one has that 20-something year relationship that Arsenal have, not just with that board, because there was boards previous. Do you think the board were protected so much by Arsene Wenger, and really the anger should have been more at the board than at Arsene Wenger? Just before we wrap up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that they stood by and watched him take abuse for years. He was pretty much blamed for every little thing that went wrong, everything. And I think he had some faults, don't get me wrong, he wasn't completely blameless, yet he wasn't to blame for everything. And they sort of hung him out to dry, like, oh, it's okay, Wenger will sort this out, he'll talk to him and calm him down after you wound him up. I think the lack of Dan Kroenke took over, and it's just been a complete disaster since then. He doesn't care about Arsenal. I don't know why he's even there. He sends his son over to do his dirty work. He doesn't put anything into the club. He hasn't put one penny into Arsenal Football Club. We're a self-run club. We buy players from what we earn. And not many clubs can say that these days, that they buy the players off what they earn. He doesn't put anything into Arsenal. And until the board and until he starts investing in the team, Arsenal ain't going to move forward. It doesn't matter what manager we've got. It's not going to work if you don't back the team. The manager needs to be backed. You need to back him.
In the old regime under Arsene Wenger and under I've got his name now. Who was the guy? No, do you know who brought Unai Emery and he was always there all the time? Gazidis. And everyone's talking about Ivan Gazidis says, I don't know what you're complaining about. It's what did he say now? We're overachieving, but then they were letting players' contracts go down, Aaron Ramsey left for nothing. I mean, how many players Arsenal's contract ran down to absolutely nothing, and they went on a free. And then if they could have got them on bigger contracts, they could have bought a lot more players. I mean, I look at the Liverpool module. I think the Liverpool module is a very good module where we sell players that aren't great, but we sell them for way more than what they should be. And that's what we've been able to bring in all these players. But Arsenal have not been able to do that because of not under the old regime. Is it a catalyst for change? Was it? Is that
what
even
he
said?
Yeah, catalyst for change. Yeah, because that worked.
And there were no change. It got worse. But then, like now,
that did well, but it just the same frailties came in.
So now, looking at Arsenal now, so we'll look at the future of Arsenal now. So before we go, so the old regime, so sadly Arsene Wenger, after 20-something years and been at the club, decided that's me done now. Then like of Raul Sanelli have all come in now. Edu has come back to then be one of the directors and stuff like that. So they've all come in. They brought Unai Emery in. Even Ivan Gazidis brought Unai Emery in. Again, people talk about be careful what you wish for was a phrase that was used so much during Unai Emery's first season. Unai Emery had a really good start, I think. Okay, apart from the first couple of games, but during the season he were really good. They got to the Europa League final, but then that went wrong because then there were games where Arsenal should have been in Europe, the Champions League, but Crystal Palace, he put half a team out. Brighton, they didn't perform in that, so they lost nearly every game near the end.
They didn't win one game in 8.
A horrendous performance in Baku, which I still to this day don't understand why the Europa League final was in Baku. It cost Arsenal fans thousands of pounds, and they didn't perform. They had the Alexis Sanchez and Mesut Ozil saga, which they never sorted out. Okay, Sanchez left when Wenger was there, and Ox left to go to Liverpool. Again, the contracts have run down so poorly. Mesut Ozil's on 350 grand a week. At the moment, isn't performing enough to warrant that much amount of money that he's on. And do you think Unai Emery was sort of left out to dry a little bit, or do you think it just did not work for Unai Emery at Arsenal?
I think, like you said, I think it started well. We lost his first 2 games, but what can you say when you're playing your 2 first games and Man City at home and Chelsea away? To be fair, we didn't deserve to lose to Chelsea, but I think we should have at least got a draw. I thought we were, we pretty much showed what he was trying to do in that game. And I think after that, it was like 22 games unbeaten.
They had a really good run.
It's kind of like, wow. But to be fair to Unai Emery, all he had to do in his last 8 games was to win 1 game. 1 game and we were in the Champions League. Just 1. And people say, he got us to a Europa League final. Yeah, fair enough. But you're telling me that, just reverting back, but if Arsene Wenger would have been the manager, I can't see him not winning a home game to Palace or Brighton.
Yeah.
I couldn't see it. Those are the games that, to be fair, he never lost them sort of games. He never lost games at the Emirates against the lower teams. He never really lost them. So I think Unai Emery, he caused himself a lot of problems. You had the Mesut Ozil saga where he didn't play him, but he made him a captain. And you were like, what are you doing? And it's like, you're paying a guy 350 grand a week to bench him. Play him. He was, he can play. He's a good player as Ozil. No, you can't really say he's not. It's just, I think he's coming to the end now at Arsenal. But like I say, we've got to that stage now. We've passed it all. We move on again to Mikel Arteta. And I think you can see
came in for a bit of time, and it didn't work for Ljungberg, did it?
No,
he's not got no managerial experience. I know Arteta has not got much experience, but he's been with the best. He's sat with the best for a couple of years. So Ljungberg sort of come in, and I think it was more to steady the ship. Let's get everybody back together again. Let's steady the ship, and then until the new manager comes in. So Arteta comes in. just before we finish, Arteta comes in. What do you think of Arteta? And with the season about to start again, him going to City, how do you think Arteta has been so far in his Arsenal journey as manager?
Well, I think he's only lost 2 games, so that sort of says it all.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, I mean, he's come in, like you say, he's not really got a managerial experience, but from what I was told, he was quite influential at Man City. My friend's a Man City fan, and even he was saying to me that, Arteta, he's decent, he'll do well for Arsenal. And obviously he knows the club, he knows the values, he knows how he wants it to work, he knows what he expects from them. And I don't think he's a soft touch. I think if you look at him, he's a really nice guy, but he's no pushover. You don't work hard, you won't play, simple as. And I think I like the way he's starting to play. I like his style. It's sort of like, it's fresh.
It looks new, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think he's brought Pablo Mari as defender. Cedric Suarez coming from Southampton. And unfortunately, we haven't had a chance to see these players because, it's kind of been, obviously the COVID-19 things happened and football's been put on hold. Thanks to Arteta for getting it. But, yeah. But, he kind of stopped the whole football when he got it. But, no, I am excited to see, the future looks good. It's going to take time. You've got to back him. You can't just give him a year and sack him because you can't keep doing this. I mean, obviously, to have a manager for so long, no one's going to say at a club like that now. Things are going to change, but I think Arteta is a bright, young, upcoming manager with fantastic potential if he's backed.
Yeah.
They have to back him. If you don't back him, then you might as well just keep to Unai Emery or Wenger because you need to back this guy. I think he can do something for Arsenal. He's got something there. Plus, he's an Arsenal man, which helps.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the whole crowd loves Arteta. I think people were a bit sceptical about it at first, but I think they've seen what he can do, with a little bit of backing. Who knows where it could take us. So, yeah, excited times to come, I think. And obviously, we'll just see where it goes.
Yeah. So, yeah, don't forget, everybody, that the Premier League season starts on Wednesday with, for all Arsenal fans, Arsenal and Man City. It will be quite strange, all played behind closed doors.
Yeah.
We'll see how it all pans out. Thank you for your time today, Claire. I think it's been a really good discussion to speak about Wenger in and Wenger out. So, just to finish, Claire, were you Wenger in or Wenger out? Oh, you seem to have lost. Oh, she's back. Sorry, Claire. So, just to finish, Claire, were you Wenger in or Wenger out? I'm pretty sure everyone knows what by now, but were you Wenger in or Wenger out?
Yeah, I was Wenger in. Just 1 second.
Oh.
The last game of the season, Wenger's last game, everyone got a shirt. So, I don't know if you can see it, Ash.
Yeah, we could see it, yeah.
Yeah. So, I couldn't make it to that game because I was just coming back off holiday, but one of the stewards who knows me give it to my friend. So, yeah, I'm lucky to have that. But, yeah, cheers, Ash. It's been great.
Brilliant. So, as ever, guys, you can tweet us at PL Seasons, and then, as ever, on the email address at plseasons to remember at gmail.com. So, yeah, we've spoken about Arsene Wenger on to our next episodes. But, yeah, don't remember, football is back as of Wednesday, and then I'm pretty sure it all starts again. So, yeah, from all of us, have a good weekend. Thank you very much. Goodbye.